Hello and welcome to this episode of Bull and Specs, the podcast that tries to give you a little bit more, not only audio but video as well. I'm Shane O'Connor. He over there is Adrian Lacey, and together, hopefully, we'll entertain you for the next... Well, I said to you actually, I think last week, Adrian, it was 42 minutes. It always seems to be about 42 minutes. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It's 3 acts of 14 minutes each on average. Of course, this week would be wildly different now we're talking about it.
But it never is. It never is equal parts, though, is it? But it always ends... It doesn't matter what you do. It always ends up at 42 minutes. I think there's something a bit dark and satanic going on. I don't know. Anyway, this section of the podcast, we generally talk about the stuff that we've been doing this week. And did I say first what I was doing this week, last week? Hang on,
this week, last week. I don't. Does it matter even if you did? I'm not a stickler for tradition.
I like to be a gentleman. That's all I'm saying. You know, I like to. I don't know. I've gone all Irish.
I don't know. You know, you can't help it.
Get in touch with our heritage there. I don't know. I just like to be a bit. I'd like to be a bit fair about it. And I was going to give you the opportunity. I kind of get the feeling I haven't done much very interesting this week, and I kind of get the feeling you will have done something a bit more interesting than I've done. That's what I'm trying to say in a roundabout kind of way.
Well, we could build up to that, but I fear it wouldn't quite live up to what the billing you've now given it. Okay, look, let's do mine.
Should we arm wrestle for it?
It's a bit difficult over the miles.
At least people realise, though, now that we don't pre-rehearse who's going to do what when.
I don't think anyone's ever been in any doubt of that,
no.
Frankly.
No.
Not trying to be rude, but...
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm naturally rude. I don't need to try. Anyway, this week... Well, if you think your week is unexciting, this week has been dominated by a small hole about that size in a piece of metal, which has burnt a hole... Well, hang on. I'll show you in a minute.
I knew he'd have to get up. Do you know? Was it last week I was saying that I think he's either got a problem with his hemorrhoids or the warm weather makes him really sticky, and any opportunity he's up and he's off and he's running. For those of you listening at home, by the way, Adrian has just got up and got out of shot. In fact, he's just got up and gone off, and I don't really know where he's gone, but he is coming back because I can see he's brought a huge box of something with him.
Hang on. I don't know how I'm going to fit in here.
It's a whopper, that, isn't it?
It is a whopper. So that tiny hole in a piece of metal, which, as it turned out, was in the lid of my boiler, has led to a brand new boiler and a hole in my pocket to the tune of around £2,000.
I was just going to say, if that's a new boiler, that's £2,000 worth. Are you kidding me? What
kidding.
Broke on it?
It just, I think there'd been an historical drip of water which led to rusting, which ultimately led to the hole in the lid. And sort of to be fair, although nothing seems fair in this last week, it was 19 years old.
That's a pretty good life, really. That's
well, apparently you don't get that out of boilers these days. In fact, this beauty, well, it's an empty box now, but it did have the boiler in. Happily, that's now hanging on a wall.
Was your old one the same make?
No.
Okay.
Don't ask too many questions.
Because you know that's a Brummie boiler, don't you?
This?
Yeah.
Well, I'd read it was German.
Chelmsley Wood there, mate. Chelmsley Wood.
Right. Could you have got me a discount?
Oh, you should have said that. I could have asked Brian if he could have got you a discount for that. No problem. We all know each other in Birmingham.
I was going to say, I'm not the Brian.
You fool.
You cornered me again.
I don't know if they've got an office. Well, they've got premises there. I don't know if they... I'll have to check and look it up.
I'm still here.
See whether they actually make them. But yeah, I mean, they are a really... I don't know whether I should mention them, because if I do you think you'll get a discount on your £2,000? I mean, it's worth a shot, isn't it?
It's worth a try. Knowing the way I do things, I'll probably get charged £4,000 instead.
Valent are a really good make. I mean, they are. You know, if you're gonna buy a boiler, them or Worcester apparently are the ones to have.
Well, I'm confused then, because I did read only today there's certainly a German connection. Could it be designed in Germany and made in the West Midlands?
Yeah, it's probably a German company, isn't it? But made. I mean, maybe I don't know. It'll all be different after Brexit anyway, won't it?
He's already mentioned the B word. Do you know what a magna clean is?
Yeah, I do. I've got one of those. In fact, my heating engineer Malcolm Hi, Malcolm, if you're listening.
Not the Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm. Do you know Malcolm, the heating engineer?
What, Malcolm of Birmingham? Or, no.
He's not. Actually, I think he's more. I think he's Hensford way. Actually, I forget where Malcolm.
Ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't get the joke, does he?
Who? Malcolm.
You. No,
Oh,
sorry,
really?
I'm talking to them, not you.
Oh, sorry.
You stay out of this. And Malcolm, you can forget joining in this conversation. Are you in Malcolm's pocket, as it were?
No,
that was a joke. I withdraw.
I didn't realise, but yeah, little bits of metal flake off your central heating system and float around the system, and that's got a magnet in it and a filter, hasn't it? And it
has.
And apparently, I mean,
Cleaner.
they presumably said you need one of those, mate, and they're going to be extra, and you decided to go with it, did you?
Well, actually, it's a mate who said that to me, so I tend to believe him.
He's bang on.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, but I don't quite like the 91 quid thing, so let's turn it over.
Yeah.
You're going to say you could get it for half of that.
Oh, no, they're not. Everything's expensive. Do you know, that's the other thing, though.
What's that?
I had to, this is ages ago, I had to have a micro switch changed on a heating system, not at this house, at another one. And the guy came and did it and charged me 120 quid. And I looked the price up of the part, and the part was £14.
You've been ripped off there, mate.
So there you go. You know, what can I tell you?
No, what I was going to say, I'm sorry for your loss there. Sounds like you're bereaved.
I'm sorry for your loss.
You're bereaved of best part of 80, 90 quid.
I was bereft. Never mind bereaved.
Bereft,
yeah.
I like the fact that, do you know who makes MagnaClean? Because MagnaClean is not the company, that's a model name.
It's not Magna Carta, is it?
No, it's AD. And some people call me that as a nickname. I'm Adrian, but they shorten it to AD.
You always gave me the impression that if I called you AD, you'd correct me.
Oh, yes, it's true. Only select people are allowed to call me that.
When we're off air, if I go, all right, AD, you'll go, Mr. Lace.
To you, Sonny Jim.
Oik.
No, my Canadian niece calls me, well, when she was younger, she called me Uncle AD. And her mother encouraged her to say, Uncle Lady! Bless her, you know, I met her when she was 4. It's a long story, but which we'll spare you now. But,
Uncle AD?
AD. It's even spelt the same as the MagnaClean manufacturers.
Or Uncle Lady?
Oh, didn't think of that. You ruined it now.
Yeah, they're
anyway, apparently, she knew I flew over. And at the age of 4, of course, you're fascinated by planes. And perhaps, unlike you don't know all the finer points of wing dimensions and class numbers. Anyway, she used to look in the sky, and every plane that went over, she'd wave and say, Uncle Lady.
Well, thinking you were on every one.
I think it's cute. Yeah.
What a stupid girl. I mean, for goodness sake. I mean, I know she's 4, but get a grip of yourself. What's
you must be a
her?
rotten father with that attitude. Poor old Frank.
Well, you see, that's where you're wrong, because that leads me on to what I did this week very, very quickly. It's a bit boring because I've told you about this before, and I'll hold that up so you can see it first of all. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Can you read that? Today, there you go. Look, I got this little sticker which says, "My dad gave blood today." I went to give blood, and I took Frank with me for the first time because he's 7 months old next week. And I phoned them up. And
Did
I
you make him give blood as well?
Yeah, well, I thought he's got loads, doesn't he? Really? I mean, he doesn't give a full pint; he does half a pint, obviously. You know,
right.
So
he is a half pint.
And you don't put a needle; they just bang him on the nose and give him a nosebleed. That's and then
Stop
just
now, because
collect it
people
with
will
a
write in.
cup.
Not everyone gets your humour.
Yeah, Angelina, social services. I don't know what they. I have no idea. But yeah, so no, I thought I didn't want. People think, oh, did he take him on purpose? What it was, because I was looking after him this afternoon, and I phoned up earlier on in the week, and I said, oh, I can't make the appointment because I've got my son with me. And they went, oh, that's all right, you can bring him. And I said, well, he's only like 6 months old, nearly 7 months old. They went, oh no, that's fine. Long story short, I went there today, and they were fabulous. They were really good. They were really nice. And I just put him in his pushchair, and he just sort of sat beside me. And I said to them, I don't know, are they nurses or technicians that do the collection of the blood? I never know whether they're.
I thought they were nurses.
I guess they are, aren't they? I guess they are. But I think they're not qualified nurses. So they've just got the page on blood.
Watch it. If you don't want to get an experimental needle next time in a place that's unconventional.
Yeah, we're doing it on your Jaxie this time, mate. I'm ever so sorry, but we heard the podcast.
It's new rules. Yeah.
But no, the nurse was saying to me today, she said, actually, do you know, when they're that age, it's not the problem. She said, the biggest problem that we have is unruly children with parents that don't get them. The idea is you just get your child to sit beside you.
Yeah.
And they said the biggest problem is, so can you imagine blood, needles, all that sort of stuff? You've got a child out of control running around, she said, and we have to say, sorry, you can't stay, we'll leave, but so whatever. So that's what I do that today. And the rest of the week has been watching football. I have never watched so much football well, sure I must have done, because I always watch the World Cup every 4 years when it comes around. I can't believe this podcast's been going this long. We haven't mentioned it at all.
We've done very well. But I get interest, unlike you, I get interested in football once every 4 years.
Oh, do you? You kind of get... right.
I've seen 2 out of 3 England matches. Of course, my narrow England-esque worldview, that's it.
Did you watch the Belgium game the other night, did you?
I did, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It wasn't the best, but we know. I thought we did quite well to contain them to... what does one say? Does one say, well, they're 1-0?
To only a 1-0 defeat, I suppose. But it's a bit of a dichotomy, that was, though, wasn't it? Because we put out a second string side, as it were. The Belgians put out, because neither of us needed the qualification status.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a real non-event, which is a bit weird. But it all starts tomorrow.
The B team playing the B team.
Yeah, it's B team playing the B team. And goodness, couldn't you tell as well? It was awful, really. I thought the whole thing, but there you go. But who's complaining? Because at least you got football. I mean, 3 games a day. I mean, we're down to 2 now, aren't we? Games a day. My wife's going quietly, well, not so quietly insane. I was going to say she's going quiet, but she's been quite vocal about it. And it's the sarcasm. We can't. If we could just have an honest to goodness row about it, and she could go, "You're not watching that. That'd be all right." But it's, that'd be nice. Another 90 minutes of football. I mean, she even knows how long a game is now. That's how many she's had to sit through. It's awful, really. So, but yeah, I keep telling it'll all be over in a little while.
I'm with her. I quite like the wit.
The sarcasm rather than
it's more fun.
Yeah. Oh, how unusual! Another football game, and this time it's red versus blue. Oh,
get you. To which your response, come on, be honest. You could portray yourself as an angel in these situations, but I've got a feeling you will have some sharp rejoinder if I know you.
Yeah, I look a bit like Warren Mitchell, so I tend to slip into Alf Garney. You silly moo.
Into part 2 of Bull and Specs, we sashay, and we do have a pinging of emails, if I can call it that. That is the collective noun for emails, isn't it? Usually on the day of recording, myself and Shane, and we're discussing via email what kind of topics we want to cover. And eventually we honed it down today, and I got an email from you just a couple of hours ago saying, let's do cannabis and swimsuits. And I thought, hey, I'm in. Sounds like my kind of show. Can I just point out, for legal purposes, when he said do cannabis, he didn't mean we were partaking. Although he is rather giggly, but that he assures me is just a natural order of things this time of the day. I don't know why. Anyway, so we're going to do, in quotes, cannabis, and then you have the joy of kicking off on swimsuits, which I don't know how I think I got the short straw. Anyway, where's the long straw or the long toque? Anyway, so according to this shock report from the Institute for Economic Affairs, otherwise known as the IEA, legalising cannabis, of course we're talking about the UK here, our home nation, legalising cannabis could net the public purse more than £1 billion in tax. And as a consequence of this report, or the conclusion of the report by the IEA, is to call on the UK to follow Canada and parts of the US in introducing the reform, i.e. legalising cannabis and then obviously taxing its sale.
Yeah.
In a sentence, in an attention-seeking, grabbing headline, Shane, where do you stand on this?
Wow, man.
I heard the sharp intake of breath.
Shall I shock you now? And you don't need to respond in kind, but I'll tell you this just for no other reason that I just tell you because it's shocking. It might not be shocking, I don't know.
Is that your dealer pulling up? I thought I heard a car.
No, there's just a car whizzing past. I got the window out because it's quite a warm evening, so I thought, look at the sweat, look at them. That's not because I'm working. I've never worked less in my life, to be honest with you. But,
just talking.
No, I've never smoked cannabis.
Oh.
I knew you'd be shocked by that.
I don't know that I am. No,
you're not shocked by it.
Oh, no, I suppose I am.
I am, to be honest with you. I'm quite shocked that I've never tried it. Because I used to smoke cigarettes.
Right.
I smoked cigars, and the fact that I haven't, I don't really know why. I mean, it's not a conscious stand against it. I'm not bothered one way or the other. I'm not sort of against it or anything like that. But that's I just wanted to declare that, just to say that I've never actually smoked cannabis.
Right.
And
we note the phraseology, which could, of course, include a loophole whereby you'd imbibed it through space cakes or something. But I'm not pushing you on that.
I've not had it in any way, shape, or form. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. And in a way, I kind of think if I had a bucket list, then maybe it'd probably end up being on there. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, I don't speak from a position of strength as a user, although I do worry about it when I've talked to people, when I've done radio interviews with people talking about the cannabis use. I do worry about whether my mind is not made up about whether it's a gateway drug. You know, people say if you start on cannabis, then you want something harder, and I know you have to be that kind of personality, Adrian, to do that. I don't know. But then of course there's the ridiculous. You look at you outlaw cannabis. And that quite clearly hasn't worked. You've only got to look at prohibition, haven't you? In the United States.
And why is one kind of prohibition, i.e., alcohol prohibition, bad and rescinded, and another kind clung onto for dear life against all the available, well, not all of the available evidence. Obviously, it's contested, and we may contest it here. But
although
but
William
it doesn't make
Hague's
sense
hasn't he?
Yeah, of all potheads you could imagine. No, sorry, I withdraw that. That was a joke. That was a joke. Or was it a toke? No, it was a joke.
But I don't agree with his logic. Was that because our war on cannabis has failed miserably, we then must now make it legitimate and legalise it? Because you couldn't have the same argument about murder. Or assault or rape. Well, we haven't done very well at prosecuting that, so let's make it legal.
Well, let's define terms. What do we mean? I mean, I think the old war analogy probably confuses more than anything, which is kind of where you might be coming from. What do we mean by a war on cannabis? Was the aim ever to totally rid it from these shores?
Sorry, I always assume zero tolerance. Is that what you not pick up from that?
I don't know. No, I think I wonder. I mean, I haven't really thought about it until this precise moment. To this extent, I wonder whether it's cynically used for its vagueness, like the word reasonable goes into so many paragraphs of law, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because you've got to be able to reason it, but. I just worry that it's kept deliberately vague to suit the purposes of the people using the terminology.
Well, it's like the war on terror, isn't it? You know, it is completely inappropriate as a concept.
That's meaningless anyway.
Yeah. But it makes people think that something's happening because we're having a war on terror, we're having a war on drugs, we're having it makes you feel like there are boots on the ground, there's action, something's happening, they're kicking indoors and people are being arrested, and of course generally nothing is further from the truth. Tell you what I thought was interesting. I just did a quick bit of research on the internet. There was a petition which closed in March this year. You know, it was like on this. What's the petition site for the
number 10 Downing Street?
The Downing Street petition site. There was a petition to legalise for medical and recreational use cannabis. They had a petition going, and it closed on March the 18th. So I think it probably would have been started January time. Is it about 3 months they're open for? I think something like that, and that only achieved 25,402 signatures. So quite clearly, for an awful lot of people, this isn't a pressing issue, I would say. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Well, no, I think you're racing to a conclusion there. I hadn't heard of the petition. Not that I'd raced to sign it, But so if you hadn't heard of something, you can't sign up to it. So,
wouldn't the argument be if you were desperately passionate about it, you would have gone to find out whether there was one?
well, you'd have to be checking every month or every 3 months.
Well, you didn't, did you? You didn't, and you missed the boat, and it's your own fault. You've got nobody to blame. No, I don't know. 25,402. Whoever started that, and quite clearly, I mean, around the world, there are a lot of people who are very passionate and very keen on cannabis, very keen indeed, from what I can gather. You would expect that you get more than 25,000 signatures. I would have thought if there was a real. A real desire. I mean, the difference, of course, is medical and recreational use, isn't there? There's a difference between
They've lumped the two together. Yeah, but here's the thing. Did you know until the recent cases that came to light about the medicinal use of that cannabis...
Oil, wasn't it?
Oil, thank you, yes. Yeah. Before that came to light, I had no idea that the UK is the largest exporter. 45% of all cannabis for medicinal use comes from the UK. 45% of global total production. And the utter hypocrisy of that. Like, we'll take the money from that, from around the world, but we won't actually, until it became literally a pressing issue in the press, that we won't actually make it legal for use within the UK. That just says everything about the double standards and where the loyalties lie and the priorities lie. Obviously, to do with money, I would assume, rather than medical value, until it became a news story.
I mean, I'm not even sure whether there is proven medical value to cannabis oil, or is it all anecdotal? Or, I mean, I don't even know whether they talk about the stories, particularly there were three, weren't there? I think with certainly two, maybe three kids who were denied this, and not one of the news stories did I see anything that said, "Now this is the research that goes into why they want to have this." So it just seems a bit lax. Like you say, that we're manufacturing this stuff. You're not allowed to have it in the UK, and where's the medical evidence that it's actually not harmful to you? I mean, you wouldn't do that with any other drug, would you?
No, every drug has to be passed by, each nation's equivalent. The states have got FDA's, the Food and
Drug Administration,
yeah. But in the case of Bill Caldwell, the child whose story came to light first because of the Kafkaesque stamping down against the drug that was clearly working for him. Well, he went from 100 seizures a day, which sounds horrendous, to a minimum number, less than 10, I think, in single figures. So from that point of view, I would say that's a bit more than anecdotal. But well, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's, you could draw analogies.
Well, no, that is exactly anecdotal, isn't it? I mean, that is almost the definition of anecdotal. It's not in a controlled environment. There's no control to measure that against. So that is just completely...
I would argue the control was him when he was denied the oil. But I know what you're saying. Yes, it's not strict scientific. You need peer review and all that kind of stuff.
California's quite interesting. I was just checking. For medical purposes in California, it was legalised in '96, which led to... I mean, I remember I was watching the Judge Judy the other week, and it just shows you how I spend my time. And a lot of people would like that outlawed, but it's not going to happen. So dream on, dream on, lovers.
Were you addressing Judge Judy in person?
Yeah, oh God, this is great. But she said, "You got a medical marijuana card?" And he went, "Yeah." She said, "What have you got it for?" And he went, "Because I've got asthma." And so he's allowed to smoke marijuana because he's got asthma. And she just went, I just can't believe, because they're saying now,
it's that lax, do you mean?
Yeah, it's when it gets abused, doesn't it? It's just another way of abusing it. But all this because you're not full out legalised it, which they now have done since the turn of the year, as I understand, in California. But they're saying that it's in complete disarray, the system. Distributors are not registered properly. People are not applying for licenses when they should. People misunderstand how they can use it, when they can use it, what they can. So, and again, they've only got themselves to blame, haven't they? The authorities. If people are reacting like that, it's because you've not led the way. You've not said, look, right, okay, from this date, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, and it has to be a realisable time frame. Couple of things come to mind. One is, does Lord Hague say anything about the heavy stuff, the skunk end of cannabis?
I'm not sure he does, because this is, I mean,
I can't see it here, but
when you drill into it, this is the problem, isn't it? Is that we're talking about cannabis, marijuana, or whatever as one entity, but as you rightly say, there's a spectrum, isn't there? And at the one end, I mean, they're saying the way that it's made to be stronger can be quite quality. Actually, is one of the issues when it comes to California. The problems that they're having is there's no availability to test the quality and the consistency and the strength of the stuff that people are selling.
Well, they weren't ready with that when they changed the legislation.
Exactly.
Now that's mad.
Well, they're all sat in a room going, we've got to get round to this one of these days because this is going to bite us in the ass, John. Presumably something.
This one's like really heavy.
Yeah.
I did like, do you look at Matt cartoons on the front page of the Telegraph?
Yeah.
When you get a moment. You know, the MPs were this does actually bring in Brexit, which is amazing. But that's the second time in one edition of Bull and Spec. But so you'll know about the MPs wanting, or some MPs wanting a meaningful vote on where we've got to in the negotiations with the EU.
Yeah.
And there's two potheads. I don't think they're MPs in this Matt cartoon, and one's having a little drag and saying, I don't know, but this stuff makes that vote really, really meaningful. Well done, Matt. He gets paid more than the editor of the Telegraph, and I think that's as it should be.
Well, as we approach the final hurdle for the Bull and Specs podcast for this time round, as Adrian said a little bit earlier on, our final subject is bathing costumes, which is brilliant because this one's killing me under here. So can't wait to whip that off as soon as the podcast is finished. No,
I thought you'd have Lycra that would expand.
It's yeah, but it's very sticky in these winter, warm summer evenings, rather, isn't it? Really, and it's chafing a bit. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, stop it!
A news story that caught our attention. I'm not going to lie, caught my attention. A leading UK beauty pageant has vowed to keep its swimwear round, despite the US equivalent of deciding to scrap the event from its competition. They're talking about the bathing costume. Do they still call it the bathing costume? The bikini round.
I was going to say, you sounded like an Edwardian gentleman there. Bathing. It gave me a picture. You know those things they used to push out into the sea where you would change, or the women would change?
Yeah, those the modesty things, were they?
Yeah, like sort of caravans.
The Victorians, they used to make bathing costumes out of wool, though, didn't they? So you'd go out for a swim, and you go out there, and the wool would get wet. You go, and it just stuck. You just drown.
Oh, lovely!
Because you'd be like wearing, chainmail or something like that. No. So earlier this month, the Miss America beauty pageant said that contestants would no longer have to take part in the mandatory bikini round. But here in the UK, Miss Great Britain said, "Oh no, we're going to keep it." And the reason that they gave they're going to keep it, they said they wanted to keep it because they'd been asked by their contestants.
Do we believe that?
Well, what kind of logic is that? That's like saying, like, we're going to have in the World Cup, and we're going to ask all the players whether they'd fancy having red cards anymore, or should we just scrap them? Do you know? We say right, we're having the Formula One Grand Prix, and we're going to ask all the drivers whether we think it's a good idea. No overtaking. You wouldn't. Why are they asking the contestants? Is presumably because people who watch it, or I mean, who watches it? First of all, we'll come back to that in a second.
Obviously, yeah, we will.
But yeah, I mean, to ask the contestants seems like a bit weird. Do you think?
I hadn't thought of it like that. Some great analogies there. What interests me is what is there in a difference between American and British culture. If you told me one side of the Atlantic was going to keep the swimsuit round, I wouldn't have guessed the UK.
No, you just said
buttoned up Britain. Yeah. So that to me is surprising. What gets me is, have you noticed the creeping corruption of the word empowered? So that anything you decide empowers you, So that we now have the spectacle. I've got a pair of spectacles actually. A swim. Is there a related
Careful,
story? That
careful. You're making up your own gags there. I can see where you're going with this one. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you click on another story related to the one that we've started working from, with the irresistible headline. Why wouldn't I click on this? Swimsuit model contests. Oh, sorry, I'll try that again. See, you can tell there's no rehearsal. Swimsuit model contests. I've totally changed the meaning of it. Swimsuit model contests empower women. They must not be scrapped.
I wasn't against
model.
it. I just wanted to take part. He just said it wrong.
You've contested this contest. I'm contesting your entrance into this contest. Consider yourself contested.
I love it. Isn't that right though? Isn't that?
What, that they empower women?
You just scoffingly said, "Oh, what is it now? We decide whatever empowers us."
Yes.
Well, yeah. Isn't that what it's all about? Only I can say what empowers me, and only you can say what empowers you.
If I suspect you're saying something just because you either haven't looked up the word recently, or that you're just going with the flow because you've heard other people use it, then I think that might devalue what you're saying. I mean, everyone has the right to be a bit sceptical about what other people say.
See, the problem I have with it is not the word empower, but the word women. Because if she'd said, it's Poppy Haskell, what a great name.
Oh, yes.
Model Poppy Haskell explains why she believes Miss America organisers are wrong to end the swimsuits segment of the contest because she thinks it empowers women. If she said if she thinks because it empowers her, then that's fine.
Yes, I could live with that. But
what I have a problem is people speaking on everybody else's behalf.
Yes. And for every one woman who is a model in a swimsuit, there must be more than 1,000 women who aren't models who don't necessarily agree with them.
But I have to point out to you, it is a beauty contest. So if you're arguing against or you're arguing for women who are not traditionally good looking, then you have to ask the question, what the hell are they doing in a beauty contest?
Well, you have to ask another question before you ask that, which is who's decided, as you appear to be doing the very thing you're against, which is speaking for everyone on what you understand to be traditionally beautiful women.
No, it's a contest.
Isn't that the case?
No, it's a contest, isn't it? So what I'm saying is, if you think you are beautiful and you deserve to be part of this contest,
I do. Oh, no, sorry, I thought you were asking me.
You can't get in on the fact that you're not a woman. I've explained this to you so many times.
I'm being disempowered as a male. That's unfair.
But if you think that you are missing out and as a woman you should be allowed to be part of the contest, then have a go. It's a contest. And the judges, who are the only people who can say what they believe is beautiful in that particular context, are the ones who will decide. Why do we struggle with this? Why do we want to make this about something that it isn't about objectification of women? I mean, they're there because they want to be judged on the qualities that they know they're going to be judged on. What's the problem with that? I don't. I mean, I wouldn't enter it because A, I'm not a woman, and B, I don't think I'd make a very beautiful one if I was. It's the beard is a bit of a giveaway. Although I did see a bearded woman on This Morning the other day. Did you see that? An American.
Are you sure you're not confusing Eurovision?
No. She'd had some hormone problem when she was younger and decided she wasn't going to shave herself anymore, and she was hairy all over, and she's got a bigger beard than I got.
Right,
which is quite. It's quite disconcerting actually, because you looked at her face, and her voice was a lot higher than you'd expect it to be because you're programmed to. You know what I mean? It was kind of strange. But anyway, I'm a bit ashamed really that I've admitted that I watch an episode of This Morning more than anything.
I think, as we call it these days, in another trendy term, that's the takeaway from that anecdote.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it?
Nothing to do with facial hair. It's just that you watch very poor daytime TV.
The wife
allegedly.
Had it on. The wife had it on, to be honest.
The wife. I don't like that term, the wife. I think that's disempowering. But hey, that's a personal view.
No, I think if I'd have said my wife, then that's different, because then. That is disempowering.
That's your property.
Yeah, it suggests that she's a chattel.
Are you taking the mickey out of my focus on the word empowering?
No, I'm just saying. I just don't get the whole thing about people want to, like. I asked my wife. And I've got a license to prove it, so you can't actually touch me for that one. No, I asked her earlier and said, "Can I just have a quick woman's perspective on this? Can you let me know what?" And she said, "Do you know what? I would never enter one. I don't really think they're entertaining. I wouldn't watch one, but I certainly wouldn't ever stop people wanting to do it. And if they wanted to do it, that's fine, And it kind of stands or falls by its own popularity, then, doesn't it? I don't know why people want to stop it, Adrian. I don't know why people want to get in people's faces and say, "Oh, this is this and this is that." To you maybe, but to them, they enjoy it. If they enjoy it, let them do it. Who are they harming?
Well, you could argue they're harming people who, or some women who don't conform to this, what you've called the traditional, whatever your phrase was, traditional concept of beauty. I suppose we could argue, getting back to my favourite word of the evening, or a derivative of it, it could disempower women who don't conform to that, quote, ideal. I did see in this article another thing that... oh, hello. My microphone has drooped at a very...
You've been disempowered, haven't you?
I have. Oh dear.
More like
Excuse me, listeners. It's almost like the microphone is ganged up against me.
Do you know what it is? It's the heat.
Quite possibly, yes.
Mine gets a bit droopy like that in the heat as well, yes. Anyway, you saved that beautifully.
Apologies for any additional sound that wasn't scripted. But I think it's your friend Poppy. Is it Poppy Haskell?
Poppy Haskell, yeah.
Oh, a lovely name, as you say. She could only be a model with a name like that, but whether it's a showbiz name anyway, I don't know. But she I think it's her talking later in the article about, oh gosh, I'm going to blank if I can't see the phrase. Oh yes, it is, the beauty pageant generally is a celebration of the female form. And I thought, well, really and truly, if we're honest, it is a celebration of a very small percentage of a small number of women's forms in a certain age group. You know where I'm going with that? To try and claim it is generally a celebration of the female form, I think might be stretching it a bit.
But
Otherwise, everyone would
do
enter,
that I think they only do that as a response to people like backing them into a corner. If they just say, "Yeah, actually, it's for people who are traditionally beautiful, and that's the way that's what people are being judged on," then that's fine. It's a bit like. Saying, this competition where they do the diving. Have you seen that? Is it free diving or something they call it, where they go and they hold their breath? And
right, yeah.
And you say, well, that's not fair, because that discriminates against people who can't hold their breath for very long. Yeah, well, of course it does, because that's the whole point of it. And there's not enough conversation saying, yes, that's the whole point, you idiot. That's why it's called a beauty contest. Because if it was, to celebrate. Well, they said, didn't they? One woman created a plus-size beauty pageant. Well, that hasn't. I didn't even know that was going. I know, Miss World, and I know Miss America, and I know Miss UK or whatever they call them.
I know Miss Unites. That's by Cliff Richard. But
I knew it was a mistake coming here tonight. I know that.
Here's a trivia point. Who wrote Miss Unites? Sorry, I've really drifted off topic there, but... should we leave it hanging for another week?
Tim Rice?
No, I think it's Clifford T. Ward.
Oh, he's a Midlander as well. He used to fit boilers in Chelmsley Wood, Clifford did.
Oh, I had a fit. He was a teacher as well at one point, and they called him Clifford T. Pot. This has completely alienated anyone under 45.
Good. That's what it's supposed to do. That's why it's called the Alienate anyone under age 45 podcast.
Bull and Specs is for everyone.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, on that suitably angry note,
Unless you're easily
it's goodbye
alienated.
from me. It's the heat, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's the swimsuit heat as opposed to the evening wear heat.
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree on the bikini round, and maybe we can make it up when we all want to help children and animals a bit later on in the podcast. But you're right, that's it.
You cynic.
Who wants the honours of doing what this week to tell everybody where you can get us?
It's my turn to go back to the YouTube, where you quite simply go to YouTube, search for Bull and Specs, the and being an ampersand instead of the word and lo and behold, actually, we recommend you subscribe to a playlist within your channel, isn't it, Shane?
Yeah, if you just put the Bull ampersand Specs into YouTube, it should bring you up all the past ones as well, which you can have a poke around in. I don't think anybody can touch you for it these days. If you just want the audio, maybe you're a busy individual. Perhaps you like to listen while you're in the car, and it's not a good idea to watch things while you're in the car, is it? As I found out, and my court case comes up 2 weeks Wednesday. You can catch the audio version at Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts, as all the trendy cool cats are calling it these days. But it's iTunes. If you just want to know where it is, it's just
by another name.
All right, Grandad. And that's where you can find it now. So that's it for another week. In the meantime, it's getting published on a Monday as well. We're always out on a Monday. I always forget to say that we're out on a Monday if you want to.
Yeah. Oh, and I've tended to forget to remind you to. Get some of your friends and family to listen in or watch as well. That would be great. Personal recommendation is worth loads. I'm just going to don this just in case there's any problem with my new boiler. So if you'll excuse me.
And while he pops that on,
mask.
I'm just going to pop this bikini on that I've got down here. And,
oh please,
we'll
do us all a favour.
We'll see you next week. You'll recognise us.
Destroy.
I'll look like this, and he'll be looking like that.
I know which I prefer.